One of my favorite topics to talk about, as I'm sure you're already well aware, is...
Wait for it. Here it comes. Almost there.
Real estate. That's one of the biggest reasons that I have this channel in the first place. I like talking about it so much that I decided to make videos on it too. I find that whenever I talk to somebody, just because I'm interested in it, naturally the conversation just slowly kind of shifts to real estate. Generally speaking, I feel like I can find some middle ground with pretty much anybody regarding real estate because so many people have an interest in it. So after talking about it for a while, typically my next question is, well, how many properties do you own? Most people, they kind of retract and they say, well, I don't have any properties right now, but I plan on buying some eventually. I think the reason so many people are drawn to the idea of real estate is because they understand it. If we were to start talking about the stock market and I start throwing out terms like expense ratios and dividends and pink sheets and margins, it's confusing and people get really intimidated. But real estate, on the other hand, it's really easy to understand. I own a property, I find a person to live in said property, and they pay me money each month. I mean, duh, sign me up for that, I'll do that all day long. I think the other thing is that reality TV has kind of glamorized the real estate industry lately, especially with all the HGTV TV shows that have come out like Fixer Upper.
You have weak ankles.
Hey, listen, that looks a lot farther than it is, but it's not. It's only like 2 or 3 feet. It's an optical illusion. Watch this. Oh.
You buy a dumpy place, you fix it up in a week, you make it look pretty, and then you rinse and repeat. Obviously, it's not that easy, but like I said, the idea of it is really appealing. So if that's the case, if so many people are interested in real estate, why do more people not invest in real estate? I believe there are two main reasons that people are afraid to invest in real estate. The first one being that they're afraid of being a landlord, and two, it costs a lot of money. That's what we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to show you guys how you can overcome some of this. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Bryce with Sane Sense, where we talk about everything from personal finance to real estate investing. If you're not already subscribed, please do so by clicking the subscribe button down below. And as always, if you could hit that like button for me, that would be greatly appreciated. Like I said earlier, I believe there are two main reasons why people don't invest in real estate. The first being that they're afraid of being a landlord, and the second being that they just don't feel like they have the money to invest. For the purposes of this video, we're only going to cover the first point, but if you're interested in a separate video about how to invest in real estate when you don't feel like you have enough money, let me know in the comments down below and I'd be happy to make a follow-up video for that as well. When you think about being a landlord, there are really two very broad, widely differing spectrums that people seem to believe. The first one is that you'll get to sit back, relax, and just collect these rent checks as they roll in each month. And the second misconception is that you're gonna get called at 2 a.m. because you're gonna have to fix somebody's leaking toilet because their toddler flushed a G.I. Joe down it. Is G.I. Joe even a thing? I don't know, maybe that makes me old. It turns out that it's really actually neither of these, and it kind of falls right in between those two spectrums. Being a landlord is very much not as simple as sitting back and collecting the rent checks every month. You have to deal with tenants and screening them. You have to deal with maintenance requests and repairs and dealing with plumbers and electricians. You have to make sure that the bills are paid each and every month, and you have to make sure that if tenants don't pay, that you follow up with the eviction process and get them out of there and then get somebody else in there quickly. There's just a lot associated with it, and if you're not willing to pay a property manager, all of these responsibilities fall on your shoulders. Of course, if you do decide to hire a property manager, that's great because they're gonna deal with the leaky toilets at 2 a.m., but it's also going to eat into a significant chunk of your profits. So it's really daunting to think about all the tasks, and it's really overwhelming, and I don't fault anybody for not wanting to put up with that. So then what do? What if you want to invest in real estate, but being a landlord just sounds terrible to you? Today, I'm going over 6 different ways that you can invest in real estate without being a landlord and without getting your hands dirty. So the first option, which is something that I've already discussed, is to buy a property but then hire a property manager. A property manager does pretty much everything for you. They find the tenants, they manage the tenants, they collect the rent checks every month, They manage the repairs, they deal with the evictions if you have to put up with that. I mean, they really do everything for you so that it's completely hands off. All you have to do is make sure that you pay for the repairs and make sure that you pay the bills so that everything's done on time. The downside of this is, just like I mentioned earlier, property managers can eat into a significant chunk of your portions, and most property managers charge anywhere between 8 to 12% of the gross monthly rent. So say your property rents for $1,000 every month, you're gonna have to pay at least $100 per month per property to cover just the fees for the property manager. And then usually there's additional fees too, like if you have a tenant that moves out, a property manager will charge a fee every time there's a turnover. So this isn't necessarily a bad thing. You just need to make sure that if you're either a long distance investor or you just, you don't want to do anything, that you add this into your calculations, that you take into account the fees that the property managers are going to charge. So if you buy an investment property in the first place with the idea of having a property manager in place, you need to make sure that you get a really good deal on that property so that you can still make profits above and beyond what the property managers are charging, along with all of your maintenance and your fees and your capital expenses and paying the mortgage, everything. It can also be a challenge to find a good property manager. It seems that with other investors that I talk to, they always talk about kind of getting screwed by a bad property manager that says they're going to do this thing, but they actually do that, or they don't do this when they said they would. So I'm not saying that to make out that all of the property managers out there are bad, evil people, but you just need to make sure that you can find a good one that you have confidence in that's really going to do what they say. Option number 2 is to invest in real estate mutual funds or ETFs. This is a really good option if you don't want to get your hands dirty or you really just don't want to deal with the hassle of going out and finding a prospective property to buy in the first place. So very much like regular mutual funds or ETFs where you can buy these and they're a collection of stocks or bonds, you can buy real estate mutual funds and ETFs that are backed by actual physical real estate. And the best part is it's the exact same process as buying a normal mutual fund or ETF. If this sounds like it's a path for you, all you should do is look up the ticker symbol VNQ by Vanguard or IYR. These by no means are the end-all be-all only mutual funds for real estate, but these are a good place to start. Option number 3 is to purchase something called a REIT. Is it a REIT? A REIT? Right? I think it's pronounced REIT. A REIT is something that stands for a real estate investment trust. People purchase these for the exact same reason that they would buy a mutual fund or an ETF in real estate. It's just that they don't want to own physical real estate. Purchasing a REIT allows you to buy into large-scale projects and own just a little piece of it, very similar to how you can buy a stock, which is a smaller portion of a very large company. So say there's a company out there that wants to buy a massive apartment renovation in Manhattan and they need the funding. What you can do is you can give them the money in the form of a REIT and you can go out there and own a very small portion of this project in Manhattan. And the best part is you don't have to swing a hammer. You don't have to do anything. I briefly mentioned Fundrise in one of my other videos, and this is a way that I invest in multiple projects all over the world. I have some portfolios in Manhattan, I have some in Chicago, I have some in LA. They're really, it's all over the place. And the best part is I'm really diversified. I've been using Fundrise now for about 6 months, and I plan on doing a full video comparing kind of the pros and cons that I've seen so far. But overall, I've been pretty happy. The best part about Fundrise is you can get started with as little as $500. Option number 4 is to be a hard money lender. If you're looking into flipping a property, for example, it's going to be pretty hard to find a bank that's going to lend to you. I think there are 2 main reasons for this. The one is there's a lot of risk associated with it and banks just don't want to take that on. And 2, there's really not much in it for them. I mean, if you buy a property and you fix it up and then you flip it in 6 months, they're not going to make any money off it. I mean, interest rates are at 3 to 4% right now. So, 4% over the course of 6 months, it's not the hassle of going through all the underwriting and credit check, everything. They don't want to deal with it. So they're just not going to lend to you. So instead, typically, if you don't have the money to do a flip like this, you're going to have to find a third party who's willing to back you. And this is where hard money lenders come in. Rather than doing the repairs and flipping the house yourself, you can actually be the bank for these investors who are doing the flipping. Hard money loans usually have really high interest rates, typically 10% or higher with really short terms. The reason that investors are even willing to pay these outrageous interest rates is because it's such a short-term loan. They know that they're going to go in, they're going to fix it up, and hopefully sell it really soon so that they can pay you back quickly. If this is something that you do want to do, typically you need to have a lot of cash on hand. So if you do want to be a hard money lender, you're going to need at least $50,000, if not more, to begin to fund some of these projects for other flippers or other, real estate investors. Option number 5 is wholesaling. And now this is a topic that kind of irks me because in the real estate world, everybody talks about wholesaling as the perfect option for newbies to get into real estate. They make it seem so easy and so simple, and you just have to do this, and it drives me crazy. So how wholesaling works is you essentially find just a screaming good deal on a property. Then what you do is you buy this property, you get it under contract, and then you take that piece of paper and you sell the contract to another real estate investor. This way, you make money, they make money, and both parties win. And the best part is it doesn't require anything. It doesn't even cost a dime to do this. And because it doesn't cost anything, that's why so many people use this as a way for newbies to get into real estate investing. I'm not saying that's not true. It very much is the case, but like I said, people just make it seem so easy, and that really isn't how it happens. Anyway, I digress. I'll give you more of a realistic example. Let's say, for example, you find a house at a screaming good deal. You find this property for $40,000. It has really good bones, but it needs, a pretty significant amount of work. So what you do is you buy this property, you get it under contract, and within 30 days, you take that contract and you sell it to another contractor. So if you originally bought this house for $40,000 and then you assign it and sell your contract to another contractor for $60,000, you make a quick 20 grand right then and there. The best part too is now this contractor can take that house for $60,000, fix it up, put $30,000 to $50,000 into it, and then go on and sell it for $150,000. They made $40,000 profit, you made $20,000 profit. They had to do all the work, you did nothing, but you still have a nice payout. Obviously, in theory, in principle, this is really easy, and there are a lot of wholesalers that do this full time and make a great living, but it's not as simple as people make it sound. My wife and I once got a property for $90,000. After it was kind of valued and we went through everything, we felt like we could have easily sold that for $140,000. If we wanted to, we could have taken this contract and sold it to somebody else for $120,000. That way we would make 30 grand, and it would also be a really good deal for somebody else. And it would allow us to get rid of it really quickly within that 30-day window. Instead, what we decided to do was we just figured we'd keep it. We fixed it up a little bit. We're renting it out right now, and we figure that when it comes time, we can sell this property for the full $140,000, if not, maybe $150,000 by that point. And in the meantime, we can get all of this rent and then make another $50,000 on it when we go to sell it. The sixth and final way that you can be a real estate investor without being a landlord is to purchase vacant land. This is something that I haven't done myself yet, but I'd like to give it a shot in the future. When you purchase vacant land, almost all of the headaches from buying traditional real estate are removed. For one thing, you don't have a building to maintain and keep up because there's no building on the land. 2, you have lower property taxes because the land isn't developed. There's no taxes that you're really paying for except for the land itself. 3, the land can be rezoned to fit your needs. It may be residential right now or agricultural, but if it's zoned correctly, it could be commercial. And last but not least, you don't have any toilets to fix that are leaking because you don't have any tenants that have toilets because it's land. If you find a piece of land at a really good price, you could possibly sell it to a developer who wants to turn it into a neighborhood. You could sell it to a farmer. You could sell it to a neighbor who just wants to build a shop or, extend their property for something. Personally, I like to go off the hard facts and the numbers. And when you buy vacant land, you're kind of speculating on what's going to happen. Maybe the city's going to grow over time and kind of spread out, and then your land will be, worth more. But the opposite could also happen. It could not do what you're thinking, and the property could go down in value if that part of town, becomes kind of run down and nobody wants to live there. If this is something that you want to do, I'm not trying to discourage you, but make sure you do your due diligence and make sure that if you buy just a raw vacant piece of land, that it's close to grocery stores and schools, that it has access to main highways relatively close. Make sure that it can be zoned property, and also make sure that it can get water and electricity and sewer and just, you know, the basic things that everybody would need if they want to develop it later on. If nobody can develop this land, they're not going to want it in the first place. So there are my 6 different ways that you can invest in real estate without being a landlord. Like I said before, I don't blame anybody for not wanting to be a landlord. It kind of sucks sometimes, and you know, it's just some days you just don't really feel like doing it or putting up with it. My wife and I have been landlords for a while now, and really it's not that bad. I mean, yeah, there are some days where you spend a whole Saturday remodeling a bathroom, but for the most part, there are lots of days where we don't have to think about it or deal with it whatsoever. Being a landlord is absolutely not for everybody, and if you feel like that's you, then maybe give one of these 6 a shot. That's it for this video, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you saw, be sure to comment down below and let me know which one you're planning on doing. Please subscribe if you haven't already down below. Give me a thumbs up because these videos take a lot more work than you think they do. And we will see you next week. Thanks.